So as soon as you walk in the door, on the right side, you've got Boba Fett, a little close up of him, cool little statue. All right. And as you walk in this room, you're hearing this really low hertz rumble. Think about if you were to hop on a ship, you know, it's in idle speed right now. The engines are running, but they're not going anywhere. So it's just this low hertz kind of rumble. And then you hear all these little R2D2 kind of sound effects going while you're in this room. It was literally like, I felt like I was going to Epcot or Disney World or Universal Studios. So you got Boba Fett here. Palpatine, I think is this dude's name. If you guys are familiar with Star Wars, forgive me, I'm not. But he is there. And then next to him, of course, is Darth Vader. So this is on the right side. If you look right behind it, you can see what they did. They did the same thing at Atlanta Home Theater, and the home theater really liked this design. So that's some of the control for equipment back there on the right of Darth Vader. And so you can see it kind of even back here and right there. So it's all through that little area on the right when you walk in. And all of this has, you know, you can see the electronics for the control for circuitry. Now, right over to the left of Darth Vader are really, there's nothing functional there as far as like, there's nothing you can actually do, but it's all these lights that are flickering. And one of that top right light above that square, green square, right above that, that was an old camera lens. It has like a big fisheye lens and some circuitry behind it, and it's making noises like beep, 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 beep. It's doing some crazy stuff. So you're hearing all this going on. You got this low rumble. And then, so you look to your left, and there's actually two of them. I only got one picture. So if you look to the left of this, you can barely see there's another one of these windows. So this was a custom graphic that they created. I think his son created it, had it printed. And so this is just a backlit kind of movie poster thing behind this trim. So there's two of those. One has like like planets, I think, on the left. And then you got these Star Destroyer kind of things on the right. So that's on the left. These heads are on the right. As soon as you walk in, that's the first thing you're presented with. If you look up, I don't have a picture here, but if you look up, there's all these wires and stuff. So again, you see like these cables being run, and part of those are real cables to the theater, but they left them exposed because it just looks cool. You know what I mean?
Michael, so that picture there of the ships,
yes.
Is that like some sort of printed on plastic that just has a light behind it, or is it like a TV screen, or what is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is a backlit like movie poster. It's not a TV.
Okay.
So somehow those probably pop off and they can interchange them if they want. I don't know how easy they are to access that. So, but yeah, there's two of those. Like I said, I think his son designed those, like they're custom graphics that he made in Photoshop or something.
It looks fantastic.
It is, dude. It was crazy. So then keep going down that hallway. And this is probably like a 20-foot hallway. Maybe something like, yeah, probably 20 foot. So then you pass those, you can barely see on the far left. That would be this right here. So you can see it at the far left, the little stars there. So just past those posters on your left, you got all of these hilts for the lightsabers. And so you can see some of the close-ups here. So he's got, how many are there? There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, probably about 16 of these. And you can see the very middle column right at the very top. There's one missing. Apparently there's one that he's been searching for, and he's, you know, kind of holding out. It's a special one, but he really wants that one. So that's the one that's going to go up there once he finds it. So these are super, super cool. So I've got a bunch of B-roll footage of this, real close-up shots that I'll share in the video. But oh my goodness, the level of detail just going into the theater room was absolutely insane. So I'll back up for a second. So what I don't have here are pictures of the rack. So if you turn to immediately across from this in that hallway, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cabinets basically. So I'll put us up here. I think this one. All right. Actually, we'll go back here. I'll come back to it in a second. So there are 4 cabinets, and inside those cabinets, I think the far right one was like a Marantz receiver, and then there's some amplifiers, and then there was a big, I mean, we're talking a massive almost like battery backup, power supply, something like that. We talked about in the video. This thing is stinking-enormous.
I've seen those things at Expona. You might be talking like a couple $100,000 for one of those
possibly.
The power conditioners, basically.
Yeah, yes. So they were telling me that really helps to keep the noise floor down in the theater room. Just keeps it super, super quiet. But it was phenomenal. So they got this big thing. So that's all powering stuff in the rest of the house, like because they've got whole house audio through everything. So these are powering speakers by the pool and speakers in the bedroom, in the living room. And then there was a second to the left of that heading towards the theater room. There is another one. And so it was very similar. So it had like some Kaleidescape stuff in it. It had another Marantz, some more amplifiers and different things like that. And then the last two were all just designated for theater. So you've got a Trinnov Altitude 32. You've got a Kaleidescape. You've got MadVR doing the video processing. You have, there was a couple of different amplifiers. It was a Altitude 30, there was a Ascendo, I think it's a 5,000 watt by 2 amplifier. Give me 1 second. I will pull it up because I actually put a list of equipment on my personal Facebook page. So I probably won't be able to share both of them because it'll want to, it'll cancel that one. So I'll just read it off here. So they've got, it's 11.6 speaker layout. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's see. All right. So we got the MadVR NV Trinnov Altitude 32. There's 2 ATI amplifiers. One's a 500 watt by 3. So that's power. It's basically biamping the LCRs. There's 2 of those. Then there's 2 ATI amplifiers. Those are 200 watts by 2. So that's for the surround and Atmos. Then there's an Ascendo 5,000 watt by 2 for the 2 subwoofers, their Wisdom Audio, Kaleidescape, Apple TV. There's an old Sony Blu-ray player, and then control floor. So that's all in this rack system here. Let me see if there's anything else. And the rest of that is in the theater room. So you get done with that, and I'm looking around like, this is dope. Then over up against the wall, you see the door, just like you would in like going into a spaceship, and there's a button on the right. And when we were ready to go in, he said, Michael, reach over and push that button. So I pushed the button, and it goes, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. So it opens up, and let's put this back up here. So it opens up, and bam. So you can see down at the far left, I can't zoom in on here, but the far left at the bottom, that's the entrance door that opens up. So you walk in, and immediately to your left is this massive 260-inch diagonal, 20-foot wide acoustic transparent screen from Seymour. I'm like, holy cow. The biggest prior to this, I think, was 206 that I've toured on my theater or on my channel. So big, 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 beautiful. And just by the way, that's not a real image there. That's a photoshopped image. Basically, the only way you could do that to make it look nice with any projector, if you've got all the lights on, it's going to be washed out. If you got all the lights off, you'll get a good picture on the image, but then you can't see anything in the room. So I always fake it when I show like a front thing. Just looks cool. So if you're wondering, but everything else is legit. That's a still image taken from the video that I filmed. So this is the front. So you get this big, massive screen. Behind that screen, you're looking at 3 Wisdom Audio towers. And my understanding, these are like modular. So you can see there's like 3 stacks, or does that make sense? There's like 3 speakers stacked.
Sure.
For the left, 3 for the middle, and 3 for the right.
What do those stand about 8 foot tall, 10 foot tall?
Yeah, I think the screen is, let me go back to my notes. The screen is 8.5 feet high. So it's 20 foot by 8.5 feet. So that gives you, so they're probably about 7.5 feet tall, something like that. massive, massive. Somewhere back there, I'm not real sure, but back behind there are two. These are Wisdom Audio. Those are the Line 3s. They also have two Wisdom Audio STS subwoofers. So these are monster subwoofers. So maybe just the port is kind of showing there. I'm not real sure kind of where those are at in the picture, but that's what was providing all the LFE for us. And then looking around the room, you can see at the front right, there are three little triangles over there. That was a window, and behind that window pane is like a star ceiling. So and these things are like twinkling back there. So it looks like you're looking out the stinking window of this Star Destroyer. And I'm like, oh, this is insane, man. So then we look to the back. So this is as soon as you enter the room, you know, on the right up where we're looking at. Hey, Siri, hush. Thank you. I don't know what she thought I was saying, but look, really? Looking to the right, as soon as you walk in, you can see there's like this little control panel right there. So it's got the red dot and little white squares and stuff, rectangles. Yep. So that has, I think there's only two control, like physical things that actually work on that. One of them's a Control 4 panel. So you can touch it, adjust all the lights and different things. For the most part, the only thing I did was they showed me how to navigate the lighting and then go to scenes. And then we did, like, this scene was basically cleaning so we could get good lighting in there to be able to film and capture stuff. And then there was another one that was like movie time that made it real dim and had some of the lights on just really, really, you know, low. So looking at the risers, he always knew he wanted 3 risers. So, or 3 levels. So we got 4 seats, 4 seats, 4 seats. And then in the back, we got an Emperor's Throne chair, dude. They bought a, what do you call it? Like a miniature replica of this chair. And it was probably, I'm guessing like, I don't know, like a foot tall. And that's what they had to go off of. And so they constructed this chair out of wood. I'll show some pictures in the video. Built this chair to scale. And the funny thing, he was telling me that he'll tell the story in the video. Once they got the chair built, the first person sat down in it and they banged their head on the back. Oh, and no. after doing some research, they realized the actor that sat in that chair was a lot shorter than your average dude. And so they're like, that ain't gonna work. So they extended it up a little bit higher and made it work. But that chair, you can sit in it. It's, you know, fully capable of doing that. And then right behind is that same type of star ceiling. Those twinkle back there and they flicker on and off. And so it's like looking out again in outer space. And so here you got the Emperor's Throne, and above that, there's these little lights that flash and flicker down on the front left, which if you're sitting down, it'd be your front right on that armrest. So those things light up and kind of flicker. They don't make any noise, but I'm just like, the level of detail that they went into this theater room, he wanted it to replicate as much as possible. Now, originally, that window right there, that arch window, was going to be in the entryway where we just saw out in that hallway. But I think his son was like, man, I don't know if either him or his son was like, what if we put it like in the theater room? And it kind of goes against, like, that wasn't really in the movie, but they just thought that would be really cool. And the Star Wars fans will probably forgive us for doing that. And so they did that. And it just looks so, so cool. So there was that. And so here is the back on the front, in front of the front row. The screen would be to your right, all the theater seats to the left. There's that console. You can see, can you see my cursor at all?
No, your cursor's not showing.
All right. So if you look at that board, so you've got 2 squares at the top, and then you got 4 rectangles, and you got 4 rectangles at the bottom.
Yep.
So if you look at the very top left rectangle and the middle rectangle or the right rectangle, so just to the left of that, it's real dark, but that's that LCD panel for the Control 4. And then over to the far right in that dark area above that 4th rectangle, That's another one, and I forget. Oh, I think that does like AC. So that's really the only working things on there. The rest just kind of light up and flicker. The lights above that light up and flicker. And then, of course, that's for like the kind of like the dramatic, because usually the lights are a lot dimmer, and that's kind of like the show mode. But then, of course, when you go to watch a movie, they hit a button on Control 4 and it shuts all those lights off so they're not distracting. It's kind of interesting. So you look at all the wall panels. So to the left of that and above that. So Jonathan, are you familiar with Star Wars?
Oh yeah, we've actually just been watching through them as a family. We're on I guess the 7th one right now.
So is it called Grablies? Grablies? Have you heard of that?
I don't know that. No.
Okay. I don't even know what it means, but it's like these, and chat, let me know what a Grably is, a Greebly, something like that. I think it's like these little pieces. So it's kind of funny. You can't see it, but if you look above that rectangular board, you see there's 1, 2, 3 circles with a red dot going up vertical. So those 3 dots, it's a router bit or a router something with an LED light behind it. So it just looks cool. And so he called that a Grably, I think. And anyways,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what a Grably is. So y'all let me know in the chat. Okay. It says, Brian says, makes Star Wars stuff from pieces of junk, basically. So he finds all these little things. And he's like, oh, that'd be a cool Grably. How do you pronounce that? Let me know in the chat. I'm looking over here. Oh, Greeblies. There you go, Brian. Appreciate it. It's called Greeblies. Greeblies. Appreciate that, Brian. So yeah, so he says piece of junk. So that's what they do. They find different things. They're like, oh, that'd be a cool Greebly. One of the Greeblies is, if I can go back to, let's see. No, I don't really have a picture of it. Yeah, you won't be able to see it. Anyway, so up against that left wall beneath the those 3 windows over there that looks to the outside, there he had bought a R2D2, and the R2D2 came broken, and so he reached out to the guy and he says, hey, can you, this broke, can you resend the parts or whatever? But he never heard back from the guy. So he didn't want to throw this thing away. It happened during COVID. So he didn't know, like, man, did he not make it through COVID? I don't know. So he said, instead of throwing this thing away, what if we just kind of throw R2D2, some of his pieces, and integrate that into the design? And so on the wall, I've got some close up in the video that I'll be posting. It has, R2D2's leg just in the wall, and it's painted the same color. It's gray. And then there's some Greeblies of R2D2 throughout the room. And it's almost like these little Easter eggs of R2D2. So super, super cool, man. But this thing was phenomenal. Let me see, was there any more pictures? Yes, that's the last one. So this thing, sound-wise, absolutely amazing. Tactile base. This is a big, big room. We're talking 20, I think it was 25 foot wide, 35 foot deep, and 16 foot tall. So it's a big room, a lot of space to fill. And I think he's going to be adding a little bit more subwoofers. Atlanta Home Theater's trying to talk him into adding some Ascendos. They're getting those in, So he's going to make a trip out there, kind of listen to them and see if experience kind of what the low frequencies, because I don't think the Wisdom Audio digs super, super deep. They just have a ton of output. So he's I think I told him, I said, dude, once you experience like some pretty low frequencies, you're gonna realize like what you've been missing. And I think he'll end up adding a couple of them either behind, maybe in the back row, kind of behind the seats or something. So, but amazing trip. Like, I am so grateful that God has opened up so many opportunities for me to fly to the Philippines and fly to see this thing and to film this and just meet some really awesome people, man. Him and his wife, Michelle, they were just super kind and just open up their home. And like I said, they were there were people like the architect stopped by. He was there, so I got to meet him. I got to meet the painters. They're doing a documentary. So like I said, Charlie had hired a guy or a company to kind of do their own documentary. So they've done interviews and different people and that have been instrumental in that part or in that process and the build. And so Charlie told me yesterday, he's like, Michael, he's like, I don't really have a place to put this video. Once we get done with it, would you be cool if you can upload it to your channel? I said, I think it'd be awesome. I think everybody'd love it. And so you're going to get like a high production value. I think my video looks awesome. I really do. But this dude's shooting with a $23,000 8K camera, and he's more cinematic, so I think it's going to be done really, really well. So I'm excited for Kale to share that once he gets it edited. They've still got to do some things. They're going to do some drone shots coming into the house, some other stuff. So it should be really, really cool. And they've got like one more interview to make with, I think, the architect. So I'm going to get my video. That'll probably go live. And then at some point, I'll do just like an intro of what the video is about, and it'll tie into that video, and I'll upload that one to the channel. So you're going to get 2 pretty cool videos, guys. I really, I can't speak enough about this. It's going to be phenomenal. So I've already shared some photos on Facebook. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can see those. I put them in a couple different groups. The Star Wars Facebook group, there's one of those. They shared it. Let me go here. Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Always. And so somebody there saw the pictures and they said, nice home theater pics by Michael Stevens. And there's 1,100 shares of this. And that was just posted yesterday. I'm like, holy cow, man. So it's nuts, man. So it's going to be fun. This is definitely unlike anything I've ever seen or experienced. Top-notch equipment, but it was cool too to hear Charlie's story. And that's one thing I try to do with all my home theater tours. So I really want to capture the story. I mean, like when I did yours, Jonathan, we sat down and we talked about a lot of the decisions that you made and some things that you did in your theater room to make it your own space. So I think it's going to be really cool to be able to share Charlie's story. He's been passionate about Star Wars since, I think he said 1977. Does that sound about right, when Star Wars first came out?
It was in the late 70s, wasn't it? Early 80s for the second one.
Yeah,
and
so that'd be so like 1977. So he said he's been watching them. He owns every one of them on Kaleidescape. He's just a huge Star Wars fan. It's not like, and the cool thing too, I didn't share this. So those pieces on the wall, one thing when I first walked in, I'm looking around, I'm going, man, there's not any acoustic treatment in here. And my brain's thinking, this might not be so hot. They did everything out of MDF. All the panels on the wall that you see that are cut out that make the design. Let's see if I can put this back up here. I think it's that one. Yeah. So you can see all the gray pieces over on the left that even looks like vents. Those square vertical panels, the middle vertical panels, all of this is wood behind the all that gray back there. That's all MDF wood. So he did a lot of research. You can see all across this thing, MDF. Very, very dense. Of course, they built kind of like a room within a room, tons of isolation. They can crank it up and go out in the kitchen. You won't even hear the theater room. I mean, it's very, very well insulated, but the room, Chuck Gerlach came and did the calibration for it. And Chuck knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long, long time. And he told him, he said, I can already tell this room is going to measure probably very well just by what he was hearing and, audibly. And so it was so cool, man. Because, of course, he didn't want to just throw acoustic panels up, but he also didn't want to just do something just for aesthetics and have horrible sound. You can't have that. Right. So he just did a bunch of research and he's like, you know what? I think this will work. And so they cut each one of those things out by hand, hundreds of pieces, glued them onto the wall. Crazy.
Did you mention what projector he had in that room?
I did not. Sony GTZ 380, $80,000 projector.
Yeah, plenty bright too, right?
Yeah. You need, for that big of a screen, you've got to have a powerhouse. And the Sony GTZ 380 will do that.
And was it in like the hush box, like above the Emperor's chair?
That is correct. So I don't know if we can see it here. Let's see. Okay, so right above the arch up there, you see that black cave right above the arch?
Yes, I do. The little rectangles, horizontal rectangle.
Yep. So that is the hush box. And so it's behind glass, so you don't hear it. Let's see if I got anything else. Yes, I didn't take a picture there. So it's right above that arch. You can see it right back there in the middle.
So is that like another equipment room back there, or is it just solely for the little projector? Did you go back in that?
The little projector. That thing is massive.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge. I did not go back into there. What I did do, they took me up in the attic. Have you ever seen an attic like this? Easy access to all the equipment. Yeah. This thing is massive. Oh, you're recording? They put planks through, I mean, we're talking 4x8 sheets of plywood all the way down his house. And so we just walk and you can stand up. It's crazy, man. You've got access to all of the capacitors. I don't know what all they are. Transformers, maybe not capacitors, maybe transformers and stuff for like all the lighting, the control force stuff. One of the rooms is totally enclosed. I've got another short video on my TikTok for that. It was crazy, man. But so I didn't go into that room. So I don't know, but I'm sure there's easy access to that. There's a room because, you know, this house was just designed very cool. And you go out in the garage and come in the back of those 4 cabinets and you got easy access to every component. The wiring cable management on that thing is like an art form. And when I went over to Atlanta Home Theater, that was one of the things they had. You can see the wiring and how they spend time doing this stuff right. Like they know what they're doing. So it was rad, man. So all right, let's go through some of these. SR1000, as a huge Star Wars fan, looking forward to seeing this theater, even if it's more like Hoth Inn, Wisconsin, right? And Death Star. Star Wars home theater ruined for all the other theaters. Yeah, it was sick, man. Super, super sick. Let's see. All right, so were those huge tower speakers in the $1 million theater? So yeah, so we showed those earlier. That would be these right here. Those are Wisdom Audio. Let's see, the model is, those are Wisdom Audio Line 3s. So I think they have a series even higher than that. So these aren't their biggest speakers, but they're fully quite capable. Yeah, if you like the video, definitely help out the algorithm, get it out to some more people. Let's see, Andy's coach. Okay, so you are talking there. Tristan says, I will take the Star Wars theater in 1977. Star Wars was the first movie I went to. And that's what Charlie was saying. He's like, that's what got me into this hobby. I mean, he's so passionate about Star Wars. And he's been following this franchise for decades. And he's like, you know what? We need to do this. And originally it wasn't. His son was like, let's do a Star Wars. He's like, you realize how much work that would be like to do it right? He's like, and then I think what happens, he went to Galaxy's Edge. I guess it's like a Star Wars theme park kind of thing. And I think they came back and he goes, I think we should do it. It's going to be cool. And so then the wheels started turning. It was awesome.
So I have a question for you, Michael. When he was playing you those demos, did he only stick with Star Wars franchise, or did he just pull in other demos?
No, literally most of the time we demoed. I'm trying to think. So we did Ready Player One, but we did not do the race scene, which was cool. He showed me a different scene. Oh, it was where the Megazil, I don't know what they call it, but at the end where the guy's in the big thing, there's this big fight. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start demoing that instead of the race scene for now on, because I'm tired of the race scene. But it's a great demo. Gosh, what else? We did quite a few demos. Oh, probably the most impressive demo. Actually, there's no doubt. The most impressive John Wick 3 shotgun scene I have ever experienced. Phenomenal. Now, the bass wasn't probably as much as probably like Tony's, but he's got a smaller room, a lot more subwoofers. So again, that's where I mean, I'm feeling it, but the mid bass slam, oh my goodness, it was out of this world. The detail, the impact was like, oh man, that was what excited me the most. I'm like, holy crap, this is just bonkers nuts. I mean, it was great. Of course, Atmos, you hear the gun shells all over the place, but it was daggum impressive. And, and I've heard it at your home, Tony's home, and those are off the chart too. But this was just, oh my goodness, it was pretty rad.
So I follow up that question with this question. Sorry, but I thought through.
Yeah.
I was showing my wife that video clip you sent us with the awesome little intro that you showed at the beginning as you walk up the theater.
Yeah.
And she said, so what is it like watching another full-length movie that isn't Star Wars themed in a Star Wars theater like that? I said, I don't think it, I was of the same persuasion. But I was wondering, does it get dark enough in there? You said all those console lights can turn off, and can the room just disappear?
I don't think the room, the room doesn't totally disappear. The only distraction that I saw, and I think I mentioned to him, is those 3 windows in the front right. If you're sitting low, if you're sitting on that front row, and they said, look, the front row, they're not that great seats. I mean, we tuned this thing for the middle row and the back row. So the front row, they're okay, but so like that's where the kids sit when they watch movies. But there was a reflection over there, so that part definitely would be, it's not going to totally disappear. So this is one of those rooms, of course you could do a black bat cave, but that's not what they were going for. So like I said, you can shut off the lights. In some of the demos that we were doing, they left the part of the light for the entryway, that door that opens up, and so that was casting onto the corner of the screen. But he said, we can easily just turn that off. Cool thing, in the master bedroom, they take me in there, and there's 3 levels of closet stuff, for the wife and his too. But I'm looking at the wife's clothes, and they're nice and neat, organized. And I said something like, oh, is there like one of those ladders, when you go into a big library and there's a ladder that kind of slides over, it's on rails or something. He's like, yeah. He said, we pull out a step ladder to get up there. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he pauses for a second. He's like, man, we ain't got no step ladder. He walks over, hits a button. This whole thing. I was like, that is so crazy. There's so much automation in this home. Of course, you got shades in the pool area that come down, so you have some privacy in the hot tub and pool area. And it's a massive pool, hot tub kind of thing. The water bubbles up and it overflows into like these rocks that are around it, and it goes down into a grading system, and then it gets recycled back through that, pumped back into the system. So, but there's automation all through the home. Of course, there's whole house audio through the home. And then there's, in the area where you have, the coffee bar, the top of the island is quartz, and beneath the quartz is like some type of LED lighting. So they can change that LED lighting to make the quartz light up. And in the video, I just showed like pink or something like that when we walked over to it, but they can change it any color. I'm like, it's just bonkers, man. It was so much fun. Man, this is how you do home theater. It looks like you're on a set it was absolutely like a set movie. Phenomenal. Why is Youthman hosting a live stream when he should be editing the footage from a Star Wars theater? Yeah. The force is weak with me for sure, man.